where do you see the AI growth zones?
I think, and I don't know for a fact, there is certainly one up in the northeast, and I think there's one in the northwest. I think the government are keen to move away from the dependency on the the southeast and Slough in particular. I think we're going to be dependent to a certain extent on the hyperscalers maybe having a second AZ, availability zones, etc. AI doesn't necessarily require that AZ, but I do think we're probably going to be seeing encouragement to go A, into these development zones, but B, also to go where the power's available. I think as a sector, we've been guilty in the past of wanting to be in a particular location, and we found a bit of land, or whatever, or we want to be in a particular location, and then we've gone begging for power. That's not going to work anymore. It might work if you're prepared to wait till 2030 and beyond. But the reality is, if you want power tomorrow, then you've got to go with the power.
You've got to go with the power is,
And I think that's what's starting to happen. I think, for AI development, for the very large large-scale power demands, you're actually finding that people are going towards the power. And that's where an area where government can help to, in areas where power is available, to streamline that process so that we can actually get access to power where we know it's available, plug into it quickly, basically. And I think that's starting to happen. Up in the northeast, I know I was there last week before, and I do see that starting to happen with local authority and government support.
I think the local authorities, especially within the northeast, would actually welcome the boom from the industry.
Absolutely, and again, we always have this problem with data centres. There's this perception that data centres don't employ that many people. Well, you can argue that's possibly true. We're not going to employ as many people as a steel plant. However, once you get a data centre into an area, the support beyond that immediate data center employment is huge. The follow-on support, the services that are required. You're going to get a huge boom in personnel on, during the construction program, but of course that's temporary, fairly long term, but temporary. But the support for businesses, in the region, the hotels, the taxis, the restaurants, the whatevers.
Exactly.
But also just having that big brand locally, that high-tech global brand in that region, employing people, bringing in a workforce, probably putting back into the community with training and other benefits. Fantastic. Of course, local authorities should.
I think there's a lot of PR to be done by the industry itself, where they have to get out in the community and say, look, we're not just going to turn up, build a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, steal all your power, and employ sick people.
Absolutely.
It's like, no, we're going to go and teach the kids technology. This is their future. We're going to teach them.
And that's absolutely happening, Mark. Honestly, I think any data center operator with any sense is absolutely realizing that they have to engage with the community, not just the local authority, but the community beyond. And go in and establish a relationship with the community and show that they're not the beast that they're portrayed by some large national media organisations. Who love horror stories. But that actually we can bring a benefit locally. We can actually engage with the community. We can be supportive. And I think any smart data center operator and developer these days is doing exactly that. It's already happening. I do think we have a lot of negative perception to overcome in national media, sadly.
At the moment, we're effectively the bogeyman.
Well, I think, again, I'm going to call it out. The BBC are shocking. The BBC are calling out how bad data centres are. They're finding every excuse to pillar.
While using them.
Well, exactly. They're working with Thames Water to say how we consume lots of water. We don't. We have closed loop cooling systems, so we don't consume water. Absolute untruth. I won't say a lie, because I think it's ignorance, not deliberate.
It's just misinformation.
It's completely misinformation. And yet, on the other side of the fence, literally this morning, I saw a very good a piece by Sky News, actually, explaining what a data centre is, how it works, how dependent we are on it. Not negative, not positive, a very unbiased view. So I just wish the BBC would get off our backs and let us actually support the national economy without being critical. And this coming from, as you say, a media organisation that is probably, in Europe, the biggest user of data centre space and capacity of any media organisation in Europe. Let's take down iPlayer before we start taking down data centres.
I think what you've got any sense to do. I agree with you wholly on that. I think, from a different point of view, I think they're right to have criticisms and call things out. That's absolutely
Absolutely,
fine.
yeah.
But they've got to be fair and balanced in what they say. They say, look, we can't say they use all the water, there'll be dry riverbeds or anything like that. It's like,
Because we don't.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, well, don't just tell us they're bad for water, tell us how they use the water, and get someone from the industry to come on and say, look, this is what actually happens, which I think would be a much fairer way of doing it, and then the public aren't driven by fear, for want of another word.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, people are running scared of data centres for exactly that reason, because because of the biased media. I just wish the BBC would actually fact check some of the material they put out and actually talk to organisations like the Data Centre Alliance, who actually have access to a large number of experts from different fields within the data centre community, and actually check the stuff that they're putting out there.
Yeah,
it is very frustrating for us. To your point, if they were giving correct factual information, fine, but they're not.
Yeah,
it's incorrect.
It's all for television, shall we say?
Well, the BBC love a bad news story, don't they?
Right, last one. Tell me about how the UK is going to be, I don't know, driving leadership in tech innovation in the next sort of 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, I think the UK have always been extremely good at research, at science, at engineering. We continue to be. And what's AI? It's all about research. It's all about engineering. It's all about scientific endeavour, both developing the platforms, but also utilising the platforms as well. And it's not just AI. We had a presentation earlier about quantum. There's an American, Gibson from the US, has come to the UK specifically for the talent available to develop quantum. So he's
come to the UK for the talent.
That's what he said on stage today. He's an American. He's moved his company here, or set up his business here in the UK, because of the talent available in the UK, which is not available in the US. So, we have the talent. That's the reason people should be coming here. What we should be doing is making more use of that talent in the development of AI, in the development of quantum, in the development of, SMR technology. The forefront of technology generally is what we're good at. All we need to do is take advantage of that talent and maybe encourage a bit more investment into, developing that talent and making use of it locally rather than shipping it off to other parts of the world.
Maybe the BBC can stop criticising data centres and maybe actually build us up rather than knock us down. But
wouldn't that be nice?
We live in hope. You've got the government to listen to you. I'm not going to hold out any hope.
Maybe support the licence payers a little more.
Yeah, well, there you go. Anyway, Mark, it's been great speaking to you. Go and grab some lunch. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Always a pleasure.